was looking like it was going to close out the money. And then all of a sudden you get, candles that are moving towards in the money. The contracts I had went up 90% in about a minute and a half. Was looking like it was going to close out the money. And then, okay, let me mute that so I can still hear myself. You guys can still hear me, correct?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Okay. And so, yeah, if you're, being able to take advantage of 0-day contracts or late day contracts, they just tend to inflate very quickly. Therefore, you can make money faster and be in and out of the trade a lot quicker if that's, what you're looking to do with, in which most of us, we're mainly scalping the markets. We're not staying in for, extended periods of time holding contracts. And so, yeah, 0-day just pretty much means since the contracts are going to be expiring that day, they're a lot more volatile. They can go up with the corresponding move very quickly. They can go down with the move that isn't agreeing very quickly as well. So of course there is, risk involved. But once again, if we can just master signals, right, and the edge that we're looking to play in the markets, then it doesn't matter whether you see that signal early in the day.
Wait a minute, hang on for me just 1 second. I think you have a couple of people who are trying to get in. Can you just check to make sure everybody's in?
Yeah, I got there was one that was trying to get in. I got him in already.
Okay, because Rios is saying that he can't get in.
Let me see if I have. Yeah, I don't have him trying to get in right now. Let me can you tell him, have him just type the meeting ID in manually? That might work. Here, I'm going to type the meeting ID into our, actually, no, I can't type it into our chat. Can you guys see the chat dialog box? Yes or no? The chat dialog box in Zoom?
Oh, shit.
If you can't see it, that's good. Because I don't want everybody to have this meeting number.
Yeah, I can see it on Zoom. Yeah.
Oh, oops. All right.
I don't see it on your screen.
Okay, cool. That's what I was making sure of. Yeah, you could.
Yeah, okay.
But if you can, just give this to him and tell him to type it in directly to Zoom. You click join a meeting and then it'll prompt him for this code. You check the chat in Zoom and you should see it there. All right, so let's kind of move into what we're looking for today to start the day. Like we've always talked about, everything that I do comes from a macro perspective, right? Yesterday we spent a lot of time grabbing some levels and things like that, so we were already prepared for today. And so as we know, right, we've been since the beginning of the year in a downward trend, right? So that's where we came from. Where we currently are, though, right, is in this rising wedge while on this downward trend. Specifically, and what we want to pay attention to today is this level right here. Let me get rid of this drawing. Okay, cool. All right, so what we're paying attention to has everything to do with the move we had yesterday, right? This huge green candle. You'll see we already have a Fibonacci retracement drawn on this because we want to measure this move, because if we're seeing retracement and too much retracement, right, this bullish move could go bearish. Meanwhile, because we're up here at this top trend line, right, and you can see this trend line scopes all the way from the beginning of October, all right, and we'll see that, it's followed this trend line pretty much the whole time. And now we're currently here. So the big decision today is, what do we do at the top of this channel? Anybody know the three options that we have?
We could rip, consolidate, or reverse.
Boom, exactly, right? So we're paying attention to the range of ES so far today, right? Because if we're consolidating, we're gonna staying in this range, right? Or part two, right? We could regain this trend line actually, and then pursue higher. Or yeah, we could start to see these retracement levels start to get hit to the downside. Right. And then, you know, at any time it could do a number of those, right? It could try to go up, market's not agreeing with it, try to go down, market's not agreeing with it, consolidate, market, you know what I mean? Like, so, but the key here is, can I tell myself a story of the markets? Right? If I can tell myself a story of the markets, then I could foreshadow the possibilities of what could happen. And that's really all a good trader does. And so we're looking at this on the hourly chart right now, or sorry, daily chart right now. What I'd like to do is go in on our hourly chart and see kind of how the overnight session did and kind of what we're looking at now. So you'll see during the overnight session, we did pick up above this trend line here, and then tried to support it. And then as of this most recent hour, right before market open, you see we dumped below that trend line. So what we're going to be paying attention to here is, you know, when market opens, what's the response here, right? We know that this green rectangle right here is kind of our range since we've been up at this level, right? And so what we're going to be targeting is one of two things, right? Either bounces on the range, right, whether up or down, or breakthroughs of the range, right? And we have some pretty clear levels. So you guys are definitely going to be paying attention to start the day. If we look at our hourly chart, just to get a couple more levels in here before we go into like our, you know, our lower time frames, right? I'm seeing this resistance up here. You notice these candles all got to this 39.85 level and reversed, right? So I definitely want to pay attention to that level, because that level, if we get above that, that might trigger us going back to test 39.99 and then potentially even higher than that. On the flip side of that, we have our low of session so far right here, but what I like is the bottom of this range right here, at 39.60, right? So we'd be looking to see what price action is looking like around 39.60. Now we do know that we have a level at 39.50 as well that we need to pay attention to, because it's only about 10 points between the two. But like I said, the goal right now, let's just see if we can find our setups or anything that stands out to us as something that might be an actionable signal. So I moved in on our 5-minute chart now. Market's already opened up. We're getting our first 5-minute candle forming of the new session. A couple things I do want to make sure on my chart is RSI and TTM squeeze. So let me I don't even want bands on here or anything like that. We're going to keep the charts really clean for now, and then we can move into using stuff like that as we progress a little bit. And then let me put my studies on. Where's my, okay, RSI and TTM. Show study. Okay, there we go. Cool. All right, so patience is the name of the game. As you can see that so far we are having some selling pressure. If we look at our I have 2 TTMs on, I'm sorry. But if we look at our 5-minute, you'll see the 5-minute went oversold on this drop right here. All right, so usually oversold conditions, what have those been leading to? Continuing sell? Think about it, right? If I'm looking at an oversold condition in the markets, is my immediate thought that it's going to continue to sell?
No, it's gonna consolidate a little bit.
All right, there's a good chance that we either get consolidation or potential reversal. If you notice that we are starting to get some basing right here. We have 1, 2 5-minute candles that have closed there. Third one, we're trying, you know, it's trying to still hold this level. But like I said, I don't really like short until we would get under about 39.60, right? And watching what price action does there. The reason why I say that is because look it to the left, right? We have a clear support at this 39.60 level. The risk to reward, you know, if we were quick enough, may have been good to catch this candle here. or even the dump right here. But since we're already kind of into the session and we couldn't catch that, we just got to kind of wait it out and watch what price action does. Selling pressure's hitting pretty hard right now, though, huh? Yeah, the 39.75 would have been a good look for entry, but as you can see, by 30, we were already underneath it. So unless we were taking the retest of it, wouldn't have done much. Now let's see what's happening here, right? So this is what I was talking about, right? You see on your 5-minute chart, we have oversold condition, and then you look at your 1 minute, and yeah, we were in oversold for a minute before the market opened. And then once the market opened, hit oversold again, and look at the response to that 1 minute oversold. All right. So a lot of new traders may have said, oh, well, it's already opening below my target or below my target, so I'm just going to jump into puts, right? Not considering RSI or what may be happening in the markets. And yeah, something like that probably would have wiped you out pretty clean. So let's see what the market wants to do. We're starting to get a bit of a trend line here, though. Okay. What you always want to be looking for in the market is your trend lines, right? And so we can see here, just from this high, that if we pull a trend line down like this, we can see our bearish trend on our, on our most recent, we're on our 1 minute chart right now, right? But it's back to that question. Where do we come from? We kind of know that. Where are we currently? I need to be able to identify that on my charts. And we have a very good way of identifying that just with our trend lines right here. Right. So we see that we're in a bit of a falling wedge. And then, like I said, we're going to be looking for one of two things, right? Usually the market loves to create structure, right? So you'll see top of the range, bottom of the range, top of the range, bottom of the range, right? And now we have to determine, okay, well, if we were going to go back to the top of this range, what would happen? If we're going to fall out of this range, what would happen? All right, well, if we're going to fall out of this range, we're probably going to lose this 39.60. So I'd probably be looking for a 5-minute close under 39.60 to trigger, looking for an entry if we're going to get continuation. On the flip side, a 5-minute close outside of this top range right here, once again, I'd probably be zooming in on my 1 minute like we are right now, looking for an entry to take upside. But for now, we don't have any indication of what it's going to do. And the worst thing you can do while trading is tell yourself it's going to do something just because you think it or feel it. Right. What we're looking for is the truth. What prints, right? What closes, right? That's where, because all of these candles are hypothetical until they close. And so even candles like this, where yes, we are seeing top side range being rejected. Right, we're seeing an attempt to make lower lows, hasn't quite happened yet. Right, so this is telling us, dang, this is starting to look more bearish. Right, we're seeing wicks at the top on 1 minute chart. However, we know we have this 39.60 level right here, and so to enter short here, knowing that this level is right below us, the risk to reward just isn't there. Any questions so far? I know I've been kind of just trying to spill my brain as we're watching the markets right now. But do you guys have any questions?
Yeah, I got a question, Algo. Hey, you said if the candle closes below the 39.60, outside of that range,
our range that we've identified.
You said you would enter. You would be entering to short it?
Yes.
Okay.
Right now, it's not just right. So the 5-minute close is, I guess you could call it like my initial signal. Right, mm-hmm. Because a 5-minute close is going to tell us that we're breaking this structure, right? A 1 minute close doesn't really tell us that, right? Because in a 1 minute close, anything can happen pretty quickly.
Right.
A 5-minute close had a little bit more weight to it. So what I'm looking for, right, would be a 5-minute close outside of here. Now, what we're seeing, and this is kind of what we've been talking about, right? When we're in ranges, usually it will use the trend lines of that range as support or resistance. Mm-hmm. Right? The market spends about 90% of its time consolidating. Right? Only about 10% is it actually breaking ranges. And this is on any time frame. right? So when you're going into trades or even thinking about trades, I want you guys to take the concept that, well, the market spends most of its time consolidating, right? So as much as I would love to see a break of this, right, the chances that we're gonna break it, only about 10 to 20%. Now
All
we're
right, so
seeing, we're seeing that a bit of that in action right here. We're at 6:38, right? Which means there's 2 minutes left on this 5-minute candle. We're on the 5-minute chart right now. Okay. Does anybody know, or could anybody gain maybe a potential chart pattern that might come from these candles right here that we're seeing? You have a big red candle, and then you have a doji, right? And it's a doji currently. We don't know if it's going to close as a doji because we still have about a minute and a half left. But while price action is occurring, what you want to be doing is, once again, I know where we came from. I know where we are now. What are the possibilities?
is that a possible Morningstar doji?
Boom, good man, right? Big igniting candle to the downside. If this closes as a doji, then we might have an actionable signal based on the high of this and the low of this, right? It could be morning star if we break above this level here. Now we do have a trend line here, right? So once again, I have to assess risk to reward. Okay, I could take the trade here, but I have a trend line 2 points away. Is that really, you know what I mean? Is that really going to be a good risk to reward trade? No, I might want to see what happens here, right? And so just kind of taking all things into consideration right before entering a trade, right? And I always go through the same thing. I'm like, okay, let me check my RSI out. We're back to oversold on the 5-minute again, because I want things to have the best chance to go in my favor. All right, now look what we got here. So I want you, and this is why I say these 5-minute closes are so important, right? And I didn't notice this until I really got off of the 1 minute, because I used to just trade on that, right? But if you were looking at this one on the 1 minute chart, right, and you would have seen candles closing higher, but look what happened with 2 minutes left in that candle, right? Sellers saw, hey, 2 minutes are left. We need to close outside of this range. And you'll see exactly what they did there. So now we have officially gotten a close outside of our range on the 5-minute chart.
Gotcha.
Right. So this is where now I am going into, let's say, maybe our 2 minute, 1 minute chart, whatever you might want, or your preferences. Right. And now I'm looking for, okay, what are the signs pointing to? Right. Because I want to, if I'm going to short this, I want to make sure that I would get in at the right time, and things are looking like they're going to go in my favor. Right. So we still are oversold. I don't like entering on oversold, guys. I do not like buying puts on oversold. It's just not the funnest thing to do, because usually oversold is going to trigger buying algorithms, not more selling algorithms. So I do like the fact that this is breaking right now, right? And we actually have outside of our range. But let's watch real quick and see if the market tries to pop this. What I'd rather see is us get out of this range, pull back in, get this RSI a little bit less oversold, and then look for another move to the downside.
So I got one more question, Algo.
Mm-hmm.
So you see how it just broke out of that range, right?
Mm-hmm. And you got your 5-minute close. That was this candle right here. We looked
right. And I was trying to go back in because it did that previously. Look like, what was that?
Yeah, every time, boom, it did it here.
Yeah. So
did it here. Yes.
So you said that once it broke out of that, once the 5-minute closed out of that range, you'd be looking to do shorts. But based on like what it did prior, like when it came out a little bit, it went back in. So like, I think that's why I'm getting my hang up. I'm doing something, trying to follow what it previously did, and then it don't work out that way, and it continues to go in the direction that of opposite of what I thought.
Yeah, and that's why it's really important to understand, that concept that the market spends most of its time consolidating, right? Which means we would expect, this to come back in. And that's why after seeing the 5-minute close, we moved in on our 1 minute, and then we went to watch the candles, right? Because we're trying to see, okay, are we looking like we're rejecting this trend line here, like actually going to stay outside of it. And so far, you'll see we've had pull-ups, right? But selling pressure is still very high in the market currently. But it looks like we are moving back into our range. Now, usually what I'll do, because I do like the fact that these candles have top wicks on them, right? Because it looks like we're going to continue lower. So what I'm going to look to do is mark the level that the buyers defended outside of that range. And then if I get like a 1 minute close outside of that range, or I see, heavy selling pressure, I'll take it. But we understand the fact that the market does spend most of its time consolidating. So it's not super surprising that we're not just flushing out of this range right here, and buyers are trying to hold it.
Right.
But yeah, lots of top wicks once again. So this does look very bearish. I'd be looking for a close under 39.54. Look to take that to the 39.50 level. And then potentially even get a dump out of that. Oh, there she goes. All right, so let's see. She closes. All right, but we've had a couple actionable signals, right? With that 5 minute close outside here. Look what that led to. Boom. I wish we could have taken it, but I've been spending a lot of time like talking logic to you guys, and honestly, I didn't even have contracts up.
Okay, so let's talk contracts. What are you looking at?
What would you be looking at?
I'm looking at you.
Okay, cool. So if you were me, what would you be looking at? Let's look at our options.
No, it's being funny. Let me look.
What are the rules?
I'm looking. Hang on.
No less than 10% delta.
Okay, but what about the rules specifically for picking the right contracts? Especially when you're playing SPX. You're looking for delta and theta to be at a certain place.
Okay, so this is what I look at. And I don't play SPX, I play SPY. So the first thing that I'm going to be looking for is maybe three spots outside of the money. Then I'm looking for open interest.
Why?
You know what? Because I just want to see how many people are looking at that particular contract price point. And then the next thing I'm doing is I'm looking at just to see, there was something somebody mentioned where could you possibly double your open interest to come in under volume? I think that's how they said it.
I don't know anything that's referring to, love. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. Well, you asked me what I'm looking at.
Yeah, you're golden. When it comes to SPY and SPX, they're the most liquid assets in the world, meaning that the open interest and volume, it doesn't really like like regular stocks. Yeah, you want to look for that, right? If I'm trading, I don't know, like and even like liquid stocks like Apple or Tesla, like a lot of times, right, the open interest and the volume on there are going to be enough to suffice for liquidity in the markets. Right, it's when you go into like those no name or maybe like a smaller cap stock that you really want to pay attention to open interest and volume. But to do that while you're trying to scalp SPX or SPY is a waste of time.
Yeah, but let's just be clear, I'm not a scalper, so I don't scalp. So if I was going to pick something, I probably would pick 398.
398 for what, a 0 day or for tomorrow or what?
For a 0 day.
If you play 0 days, you are a scalper.
Oh, okay, well, I guess I'm scalping then.
Because the 0 day expires when?
Okay.
That day, right?
So that's my answer.
So, and this is a good, right? This is a good thing sometimes because I think a lot of us can do that sometimes where we're taking a scalping contract and then holding it all day. Or taking a scalping, you know what I mean? Or taking right? If we're swing trading, it's entirely different logic behind it. But usually a swing trade isn't gonna involve a contract that expires that day.
Got you. Okay, cool. So what you want to do?
So let's just get back to our our premise here, right? Market spends most of its time consolidating, right? So look what happened with our, right? We knew our level where it was defended, right? But we knew we had this level down here. And once again, what we're looking for in our signals is healthy risk to reward, right? And so if we look at that 54, yeah, it flushed to 50, that exact level that we had, but look what happened right after, and look where it is now, right? So this is the power of your structures and the power of understanding the market spends majority of its time consolidating. So if I can identify a structure, right, and then I can tell myself, okay, all right, I'm either looking for the break of that structure or for that structure to continue. Most of the time, that structure is going to continue. However, about 10 to 20% of the time, that structure may break. So we're seeing right, so we saw a big healthy bounce from buyers. We're back at the top of the structure now. And what do you think we're looking for?
Break and continuation.
Specifics. What's going to qualify as a break of the structure? What time frames close?
The
5-minute close. Yep, exactly. Because these 1-minute candles, right, they can fake you out all day. I mean, we saw just a second ago. Oh gosh, I don't know what I did. Okay, bring that back. All right, we saw just a second ago how that 1-minute candle held no weight at all on breaking this structure and bouncing right back. All right, so that's why I prefer to wait for my 5-minute closes, because I just feel better with the 5-minute close, because I know the market has had to prove that it wants to do that for longer, for a longer time. So we'll see here. All right, fine. We got our 5-minute close outside. This would have been a nice scalp if we would have been able to take it, but that would have been way too quick. And especially having a level down there. Now, one thing I like about this right here is if we break this and close a 5-minute outside of this 39.67 level, and really this trend line, well, now we have 75 and 77 up here, right? So that's potentially 10-point move that we can get to the upside, versus here we may have only had 3 or 4 points. All right, so when I'm assessing these things, I'm looking for things like that too. Okay, well, where's, is it going to give me a good risk to reward to do that? Patience does mean you don't catch everything, but it is what it is. So we'll wait to see. We got like 1 more minute on this candle. Yep, just closed.
Yeah, we had 23 seconds.
Yeah, where's your what contracts would you take? Because that's our 5-minute close. So if I'm a 0-day trader, looking to scalp, get a little bit of, take some coins here, what contracts would I possibly take?
The SPX 4020.
4020. Look at the delta on 4020.
It's a 10.
All right, I got 0.18 showing up on 0.07 showing up on 4020s. We at least
on mine it say 0.11.
Are you sure you're looking at delta and not theta?
Yeah, I'm looking at delta.
Okay.
It's showing 0.11 on mine.
SPX or SPY? SPY, right?
SPX.
I'm sorry. Yeah, here, let me close this and open back up.
Yeah, Thinkorswim been tripping on on showing correct figures and stuff like that. I noticed that lately. But yeah, right now it's currently showing 0.11. And then the next one above it is 4015, and that's showing like 0.14 on the delta.
Yeah, that's trippy. Mine are still 0.08 on that. But yeah, you have the premise, right? You would want to be in delta of at least 0.10. And the reason why is because that means your contract's going to move $10 for every dollar that SPX moves.
Gotcha.
So we see our 5-minute close here, right? So if we would have taken our signal 5-minute close, we would have been up in our next level here, probably looking to shed some weight on these contracts. And that's kind of the premise behind it, right? You get your 5-minute close, right? You want to see, you zoom in on your 1-minute chart from there, and then look how clean this was, right? So that was our 5-minute close there. And then we immediately got another move to the upside, right? So as I zoomed in on my 1 minute, seeing this move to the upside would have been my entry signal. 5-minute close, seeing this move to the downside would have been the entry signal. Now, does every single one work, right? We know why this one didn't work, because we were oversold all morning and we were expecting an a bounce on being oversold. This one we definitely could have taken some coins on though. But one of the things you want to make sure you do ahead of time is having contracts ready to go. And so I'm just going to show you guys how I do that real quick. But ideally what I want to have is contracts and a watch list here. You guys know I tend to do a lot of trading on my phone, and I don't think I'm logged in on my account on this one. It actually has BP on it, but it would be right, but we would want to kind of take account of, okay, what contracts would I want, right? So in your trade tab, and yeah, there's definitely something up because it's still showing my contracts from the 9th. That is weird. What's today, the 11th? Okay, cool. And then let me see on here if the delta is actually, oh, that's SPY. Okay, let me put an X there. All right, there we go. That's a little cleaner. All right, and then so let's see. So 40-20, yeah, 0.11, right? So back to that point that we were talking a little earlier, about, when you are scalping 0 days, you want contracts that have delta. When you think of delta, I want you to think of power, right? You want contracts that are powerful, right? That as the stock moves, they're going to move with power and gain more power quickly, right? So you'll see how this 0.10 delta, right, as these get close to the money, the delta doubles in three strikes, right? That delta triples in 6 strikes. That doubles 4x in 9 strikes, right? Which is 5, 10, 15, 20, right? It's like in $5 increments. So this is why I will make sure that the farthest from the money contracts that I will get is at least 0.10 with a theta of at least negative 1.0. So I have 2 stipulations, and what that gives me is the range of contracts that I can choose from, right? Because we all have different account sizes and things like that, I can't tell you what your 10% rule should be, right? For one person, that might be $300. For another person, that might be 3,000, right? So what I can tell you when you're looking to identify your contracts is don't go farther out than the 0.10 delta and the negative 1.0 theta. Any contract within those amount of strikes from there to in the money, you're good with. Same with puts. So if I was looking at puts, what's the farthest out the money contracts that I would be in? Go ahead and look at your own options chains if mine are small or something like that.
3,900.
Yeah.
Boom, 3,900. And why?
Because your delta is 0.10, and then I can't really see it, but
Yeah, but your theta, yeah, -2.
yeah,
Yeah,
right
exactly. And so like I said, you want to find contracts that maybe fit your liking, right? Where you can do your calculations easy, right? So like maybe this one that's like at 3 a piece, right? So I'll grab that, add that to my puts watch list. Oh, capital puts. All right, now, of course, we already know that that contracts will move, right? So like that 0.10 delta, right? It was 0.11 a second ago on the 40-20s. Now it's 0.10, right? So ideally, you want to grab a couple of contracts that are within the same range because you know the market's going to move. So maybe I will grab the 0.09 because that one may become a contract that I can use if we keep moving downward. I like to have the delta on my watch list as well, just so it can tell me just by looking at it what contracts that I can mess with and which contracts that I should stay away from. I do the same thing with the calls, right? So I'll go to my calls, find the ones that are within the range that that I'm comfortable with. And once again, I'll have those ready to go. So now it's like, as I'm doing my analysis in the markets and maybe finding, signals that are actionable, it's not too hard for me to know which contract is going to correspond with the move I'm looking to take. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Whew. This market is bucking. All right, so you see we had our break out of our range, got right to our 39.77, which is our Fibonacci level, pulled back to the freaking trend line, right? And this is why I tell you guys, like, if you can find the market structure, it becomes like almost like a cheat code to the markets, right? Like this, if we didn't have this line right here, right, would this price action make sense? Not as much. All right, but when I'm adamant about making sure, hey, any structure that I can identify, let me make sure that I have it on my chart. And now we see, okay, falling wedge, break, retest, and then even raised again and back at another retest. Now, let me ask you guys a question. Is there anything here that might help you guys formulate a potential bias about what this price action is doing right now? There's a specific candlestick pattern that formed in this most recent price action.
Inside candle.
That bullish harami.
Engulfing candle. Look at this red candle right here. Right? So we had like really big bullish intentions, but when you get an engulfing candle that completely wipes out the whole range, and that's not a small range, that's like 10 points. All right, engulfing candle wipes out the whole range. That's not looking too healthy for buyers. Would you guys agree?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we got to formulate a plan, right? We've seen right, our idea that, okay, we're oversold, but we're trying to break this range. Market spends more time consolidating, it might not break. All right, did break and then move right back up. Then we had a breakout here. All right, and now, oh my goodness, you guys see where we're going with this, right? Oh my goodness, I did not expect that at all. I thought we had a little bit more time, but that exactly was going to be our play, right? If we come back into this trend line here, we were going to go short. Good God, what is happening? Our market is tripping right now. I'm so glad we haven't taken a trade today yet. Like straight up. What is this? Somebody tell me. Does anyone know? Have you ever seen a candle like that? That's 39.50 to 30. That's a 25 point out of nowhere range. And that happened after an engulfing candle. So like I said, the engulfing candle is what I was focused on, because this is a huge bearish candle right here. Did not expect this. And I have no idea what's going to happen right now. We need to check the news, because this is when you see things like this, has anybody ever seen a candle that fast and that big range?
Yeah,
No.
when your boy be talking. Jay Powell, I've seen it do that.
Yeah, that, bro. What do you think I'm going to look for right now on Twitter? Is news. What happened? What are we, right? What's going on right now? Because it's, yeah, that's not a regular candle. All right, it has something to do with inflation forecasts. It looks like that's the only thing that I'm seeing, and it looks like they're expecting can't tell if it's higher or lower. Anybody else see any news that may have spurred that on? That's the only thing I'm seeing on Twitter. It was news that popped out about a minute ago. It was from the Michigan Fed.
Right now, they only talking about the FTX bankruptcy thing. I don't see nothing else on CNBC.
Gotcha. I'm gonna check my calendar real quick. Let's see if it has to be Michigan. Yeah, it's the Michigan consumer sentiment numbers that just came out at 7 a.m. my time. So that was that, but that was a very that was a wacky candle. Bro, that is crazy. All right, so what would we be looking for now? Just to get a reminder, right? Based on where we are, what are some conditions that we might formulate around what this price action looks like on the 1 minute chart? And here, let's go to our 5. Look at that 5 minute, bro. That is nuts. And look where it stopped at, right at 39.50. So we know we've had 2 times here that say 39.50 is a strong level. But what would we be looking for based on what we see here?
But possible long entries.
Above what?
What's this? What's that? 39.75? Because it keeps stopping.
And I'd probably really be looking for the 39.77 level.
Okay.
Right, just because we see that resisted, right? 39.75, we were able to get that. So maybe a scale in or something like that above here, but really I'd be looking for 39.77.
So you would be waiting for a break or a close above that 39.77?
Has to be a close. Has to be a close above, not a break, right? Because a break can happen. How many breaks have we seen? And in this crazy ass market, yeah, exactly. All right, now throughout the process, checking on your delta and theta on your contracts, because you might need to add a different contract in or something like that, depending on if you were close to that 0.10 delta. Usually I like to be around 0.20 delta, just because I know, okay, if I'm in a trade and it's 0.2 delta, then that's $20 per dollar it moves. Like all I need, you know what I mean? I don't need a whole lot of movement from a 0.2 delta contract, because once again, I'm getting 20 cents per dollar that it moves. So for me, I don't try and be on the outskirts of that 0.10. I like to kind of be in the middle of it.
Professor Algo, quick question.
Yeah, and we're about to get our 5 minute close. We're coming up on it. 5 minute close. Oh, this is a new 5 minute candle. So we're gonna be watching this candle, see if we can get a close above 39.77 level. Go ahead and ask your question.
Sorry. On SPY, how would your theta and delta change from SPX? I know you mentioned it, but what would be the difference?
SPY, you don't really have to worry about it. Just make sure your contracts are close, within about 2 or 3 strikes from the money.
Okay. Thank you.
Get some percolation. Let's see what she wants to do. Let me get rid of this purple line here, unless I had it there for a reason. No, not really. Right, but you see why I don't wait for just breaks, right? Imagine if we would have, oh, it broke that level. In and immediately down. Closes are what counts, right? And so all right, now next question. Is there any other trend lines or anything that we might be able to identify with this recent price action? because we have our upward signal, and then we have what we would think would be our downward signal if we broke this. But once again, I want you guys to get in the habit of anytime I can get a structure in the markets, I want to take it. All right. So we have our lowest low here, and then we have a grip of candles that consolidated along this trend line. All right. So that might be an important trend line. And look at the response to breaking that level. All right. And so the reason why I want you guys to think like this is because this is what algos are doing all the time. All right. After you've gotten, especially, 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes to go by, you should be able to draw a trend line based on, the current price action. So in this case, right, we've identified a new structure, new trend line. Go to our 5-minute chart. $7:08. So we have 2 minutes left on this 5-minute candle. All right, a candle closing outside of this trend line, but look where it's holding up at this trend line here. All right, so my signal would probably be a 5-minute close inside of this signal here. All right, if you were frisky, you could take a 5-minute close outside of this trend line currently for the potential to go back into this structure here. But as you can see, the market is just wacky right now. Look at all of these candles, the range of them, and then the fact that, right, we have upside and downside. So it's like the market is trying to digest some form of news or something, right? And this is why you're seeing such a crazy ass battle on this 5-minute chart. Because you don't, I mean, these are not regular candles where you have a 17-point range and in the middle of it, 20-point range, and you're in the middle of it. So I don't mind being very cautious with trading today, because if you're looking at the price action, it's erratic as hell. And this is the hardest part about trading, right? Is waiting. Right? We've had a couple times where it's like, okay, we could have gotten some coins here, some coins there, but at what risk? Right? I look for high probability. There's not a lot of high probability in 20-point candles that range both directions. All right, so did we get a 5-minute close outside of this trend line here?
Yep.
So let's go in on our 1 minute real quick. Oh gosh, come back. All right, that was our 5-minute close outside. So we're seeing we're doing a bit of a retest here. But if we start to fail these levels, this 39.65, we can close below that. That'd probably be my cue. So we have a break. There's a retest on this trend line here. Looks like we're retesting again. So if I see price action start to go down this 36 level, or sorry, 65 level, that's probably where I would look to short to try and take to the trend line down here at 60 and possibly into this structure again. So you see that that's why I go from 5-minute close. Okay, you gave me my signal. Now let me look on the 1-minute chart and see if anything's telling me to enter. Because if I just close my eyes and enter because 5-minute close, look what would happen. So you always want to take the next step, go into your 1-minute or 2-minute chart and look for an indication that your move's going to continue. In this case, nothing indicated the move was going to continue, so we did not take the trade. Now we're going back to our upside, 7-11. So we have 4 minutes left on what would be a 5-minute candle, and we'd be looking for the close above 39.77. And then we're going to do the same thing, going on the 1-minute chart, make sure things look clean for continuation, and then pull the trigger if it does. All right, getting our touch, peaking above. Watching our 5-minute chart now, seeing if we can get a close above that zone. Three minutes left on the candle. Any questions? All right, our calls 41 or 40-15 still healthy. Let me get one more closer to the money. I like 40-05s, honestly. Those look like the nicest to me. 0.17 delta look really good. 13, we got 2 minutes left on this candle. You notice the crazy stuff starts to happen about 2 minutes before the 5-minute candle closes. I don't know if you guys are starting to notice that, but you know, the first couple minutes, it's whatever. But then that last like 3 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes usually is where, right? And it's like you have to ask yourself, well, why is that?
It did it on that initial drop this morning too.
Yeah. And you have to ask yourself, well, why is that? What's the market trying to tell me about you know, when that kind of price action happens? Well, once again, that's all the algos are programmed to, right? So algo sees, hey, we closed at this. All right, that's us above. Let's go for it. Oh, wrong account. All right, take me. All right, filled it 3-2 on the 40-10s. So we're in this trade right now. What are we hoping for? Where's our target?
That 39.85.
39.85 initial target, and then our top trend line right here, and then potentially even 39. It depends on what kind of move you see and what kind of percentages you see on your wins. Not oversold on the 5-minute or overbought on the 5-minute. One thing we didn't check. Okay, cool. Amen. We're not oversold or overbought on our 1 minute yet, right? So a lot of times what I do when I scalp, I look for our RSI to go hit whatever condition that's in my direction. Now, with that said, where would our stop loss be? What would tell us to get the hell out of this trade? This guy right here.
Oh, your trend line.
Still sitting at 3.1. Got filled at 3.2, so we're holding pretty well. I'm hoping we can get an ignition out of this, though. Come on, buyers.
So I'll go, when you trading ES, all you doing is looking at ES. You're not looking at NASDAQ or nothing else like that.
I mean, I do look at NASDAQ sometimes, but just for all intents and purposes right now, there we go, 3.5. But yeah, just for purposes right now, we're not going to complicate things too much. But yeah, I do look at NASDAQ a lot to see if NASDAQ is supporting the move as well.
Okay.
All right, we're going to be ready to get out of here pretty soon. We got our 39.85 coming up. We're at 3.4 on these contracts, so hopefully they get a little bit more pop. I'm going to set a limit order for 3.6. Hope it can feel me. Come on, pop. There we go, there we go, there we go. Damn, it didn't feel me. Come on, go for it again, feel me. There we go, there we go, there we go, boom. 365, filled. Okay, there we go. Boom to boom. That's simple. Okay, now if you're still holding these contracts, awesome. But knowing that I got to my next level with the trend line up here as well, I'm good on that. Also, we see how close we are to overbought. What happens when we register overbought? Sell algos kick in, right? So when I take these trades, I'm paying attention to that on my 1 minute because I know I'm scalping and I can't afford for the algos to kick in and then just wipe all the profits that I just had away. Also, and this is what I mentioned, right? So you take 3 of those contracts at 3.2, they go to 3.65 where they are now. Okay, that's almost $50 per contract. That's $150 trade in 1, 2, 3 candles. Right? So this is what I mean when I say, if I can find awesome signals and an awesome edge in the markets, then all I'll do as I get comfortable with that is instead of 3, I'll buy 6. Instead of 6, I'll buy 9. Instead of 9, I'll buy 12. Right? And then now all that 150 per, right? I got 12 of those contracts. What is that? 1,600 bucks. And then my account is closed and I'm done for the day. All right, so I want to help you guys conceptualize this because this is what counts in your trading accounts. Right? It's not about, hey, let me take every signal, right? I took this signal, I took this signal, I took this signal, I took that. No, we waited for one that actually looked healthy. Questions? Come on, guys, ask away, because this was a pretty intense hour. Like, had a bunch of trades that, you know, started to qualify for our edge, but didn't quite make it.
I got a question about the stop loss.
Mm-hmm.
So you is for you personally, you not getting out unless it breaks the trend line that you drew.
I'm out of my profit or my profit target.
Or your profit target. Okay. Because do you recommend that for a new trader as well? Because if you're not drawing your trend line correctly and you wait for it to break that and you like all you down real bad already because you didn't draw your trend line correctly, do you recommend that for like a new trader?
That's the challenge of trading, right? Ooh, there we go. That's the challenge of trading though, right? For me, I look at, usually I'm playing my chart, right? So I'm gonna look at that trend line. But if the contract I'm in is taking a hit, then I want to be out sooner than the trend line. But usually, because I like structure, I like the market. The market has proven that it, you know, will adhere to structure. Usually, I'll lean on the side of playing my structure, and letting that tell me whether I should get out or not.
Gotcha.
Contracts are at 3.8 now. But that's kind of what I mean there. So you'll see even like the contract that was at 0.17 delta raised to 0.25 delta. All right, this contract I think was at 4 when I pulled it in, or 3.5 is at 5.1. So you'll see if I can, instead of, you know, going for that, let me get the farthest out delta, right? Sometimes it's better if you have a great signal to, you know, spend a little bit more money on that contract, get a healthier delta. And then, yeah, imagine if we would have, you know, if I would have had 3 of those, right? That would have been a $300 profit, or possibly even more than that, right? And then, you know, if that was 6, that's a $600 profit. 9 is $900, right? Like, so you'll see that the only thing that changes is you scale, right? Once you have your edge and you're comfortable with it, the only thing you do is you just buy more of the contracts that you would usually have bought. But that's why it's important to have the right contracts right? Contracts that are going to move for you. Look at this, 4.1, 4.3. Ooh, if you guys are still in those, that's amazing, right? Or any of these really, right? Because we caught the signal. That's it, right? We looked at our RSI too. RSI wasn't overbought, just reached overbought. So guess what I would be doing right now if I hadn't already been out, right? That's my signal. Overbought. Right now, will overbought always tank the market right after? No, but I don't play on being the exception, right? I play on the rules. There are exceptions to the rules, they always happen, but if I frame my trading based on I'm exceptional, God's gonna do something for me that he does for nobody. Like, it's the markets, bro. You know what I mean? And so don't think of yourself as exceptional or as the rules don't apply to you, or usually it does, but this time, right? Any of that logic usually fucks you over more than it helps. I'm sorry, we're broadcasting. We usually mess you over more than help you out. But perfect trade, perfect execution. We had to wait for it, but once again, there's nothing wrong with waiting for it. If we would have been impulsed on any of these other moves without looking at our criteria, looking at that RSI, was zooming in on the 1 minute chart to see, okay, what is this looking like as it's breaking, as we got that 5 minute close, then y'all would have been mad at me here. Y'all would have been mad at me here. Y'all would have been mad at me here. Right? Instead, we waited and hopefully everybody ate. Any questions before we wrap up? We got about 6 minutes.
I forgot what I was gonna say.
So not really a question, but just sitting here through this session. Of course, I'm multitasking, but I'm thinking I've been jumping into trades way too quickly.
Bro, that is the Achilles heel. And it took me a year and a half of trading to realize I need to get off the 1 minute chart. Like, I'm seeing the right signals, but that 1 minute chart is just not strong enough for the signals that I'm taking. Right. And that's why I had to kind of switch it up and say, all right, let me watch this 5 and what happens when it closes on the 5. And I'll just notice it holds a lot more weight. Just a quick note, right? We'd want to, anytime we can, draw a trend line. We want to, right? So seeing this trend here, we'd want to take heed of that. Interestingly enough, look at the trend line and look at sellers attack it, right? Where do we think it's going to go? Probably to this trend line here. And if you see it, very close interaction with this recent trend line we had, and that's where buyers defend it. Right. And then so as you do this more, it's just gonna the market's just gonna start to make sense to you a little bit more. You're gonna understand that there's always 2 teams, buyers and sellers. Each team has to play its given role at the time, right? So if price is moving up, buyers are on offense, sellers are on defense. Price is moving down, sellers are on offense, buyers are on defense. When you see a trend, right? A trend is like a team marching down the football field. Right. Well, eventually, right, the defense is going to have to step its game up. And so, right, we see here, defense was like, okay, nope, that's enough. Interestingly enough, that's right at the trend line we had drawn from earlier. Right. But if you have these trend lines and these levels and things like that, and you're just looking to identify the structure of the markets, you'll always find it. Right. And then when moves are happening, nothing is ever too much of a surprise to you. I mean, minus like shit like this, you know what I mean, which was a news catalyst, but like, you know what I mean? Because you'll see, oh, okay. Oh, they're liquidating that trend line. Oh, okay. Buyers are stepping in right here to defend so it doesn't go lower, right? And you're able to almost be like a sports commentator in the markets where all you're doing is telling the story of the markets. All right. So let's just talk through kind of where we are real quick. We got 4 more minutes, and I want to make sure we make the most of the time. So we know where we came from. We know where we are currently. What's our next signal?
The next signal to enter.
Baby. Yep. What right? So if we're right, we know where we came from, we know where we are now, right? And then the best traders, right, what we're all looking to do is figure out, okay, what are the possibilities, right? Where could things go? Because then once we can get that last part of the story good, well, then it's just a if then clause, right? If it does this, then I will do this. If it does this, then I will do that. And so if we were going to put some conditions for potentially another trade right now, what would that look like?
So the close above 39.90.
Boom, 5-minute close above 39.90, right? And let's double check real quick. Where's our 39.90? We have not gotten a 5-minute close above 39.90, right? With this trend line here, you see, boom, reject, and then we're trying to work on it right now. So yeah,
So
it would be a 5-minute close above 39.90. Then I would look for an entry to go long after zooming in on my 1-minute chart and right, confirming that, okay, RSI, we're not too bad. All right, you know, things of that nature.
and to double check that price, is it cool to look to the left to see if that
That's
39.90?
yeah,
has
if
been
you've
hit
done
a
your
few
job
times?
right before you ever got into the markets, right? I'm gonna zoom out of my daily, right? I have my structure for my daily and my macros already in, right? Remember when we first started, I don't know if you're here, right? But we went on the hourly chart and got certain levels from our hourly based on where we currently are.
Oh, you
Right?
did it on the hourly. Okay.
Yep, I do it on the daily and then on the hourly. Usually
Gotcha.
those are my two sweet spots because once again, it's like I'm playing these smaller time frames, right? And if you think about it, right, the reason why these levels are all here is because they got there on a smaller time frame, right? So they almost act as like magnets for price, where okay, you know, on the smaller time frame, all we're seeing is a manifestation of the price travel to the next supply or demand on a larger time frame. That's all the smaller time frames are doing, really. And so yeah, that's kind of how I look at it. Everything is derived from a macro perspective. That way I have a little bit more like silent confidence in my trades because I'm not looking at, oh, well, I found this support on the 1 minute. I don't want to support on the 1 minute. You know what I mean? I want my my levels on higher time frames because those are the ones that hold the most weight.
That makes sense.
All right, 39.80. So we did not get a close over 39.90. So no signal yet. Now, we want to be looking at the market on both sides of the equation, though. So we definitely have an upside signal. What would be a downside signal for us?
The close below
This guy right here,
39.
our trend line, right?
Yeah.
Our
Okay.
recent bullish trend, right? We already clapped this trend line here, but we know that we still have this one right here,
Okay.
right? From recent price action. So my downward signal would be a 5-minute close below this trend line here, right? And looking to take it back into the this previous structure that we had. All right, but this is what I do at any time, right? So anytime I'm in the markets with y'all or anything like that, I'm just assessing those three things. Where do we come from? Where are we now? And then where could we possibly go? When I answer the last question, I want to look at both sides of the equation. Okay, where could we go if we go up? What would constitute me getting into a trade if we do that? All right, what would it look like if we went down? Right, what would constitute me entering a trade on that? And then once again, if I can answer those questions before entering a trade, it just gives me a lot more confidence to you know, to be in that trade and take it. So we're seeing a potentially we're getting out of this trend line. We got a 1 minute, the 5-minute close, if you notice it, very interesting, but it closed right on the trend line. Let me just zoom us in. Right, closed right on the trend line. And then this new candle that opened up a minute ago is finally we were getting some play outside of our trend line. We're going to look for a 5-minute close outside, zoom in on our 1 minute chart, and see if there's, you know, a signal that looks like potential to keep going. And we'll kick it here for this last potential trade, just see how it plays out. So we know we have 3 minutes left on this 5-minute candle. One thing I don't like is we've already seen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a series of 5 candles red. So that's something I'm like, don't really like that, right? Like I don't want to enter when I've already had 5 candles red, just like you don't want to enter when you've already had 5 candles green, right? Because for every candle that's in your favor or the direction you want it to go, the chances that a candle is going to come in the opposite is more and more likely, right? So I get 3 candles in my favor. I'm not thinking it's going to keep going. I'm like, damn, is that 4th candle going to be the one opposite? Right? I got 6 candles in my favor. I'm not thinking, dang, it's going to dump forever. I'm thinking, damn, is number 7 going to be the one that goes the other direction? Right? Every candle that's for me, the chances that a candle is going to be against me get higher. And so one of the things that comes into my logic, right, why I wouldn't just take this, oh, we're out of the trend line, right, is because we have a sequence of 5 candles that led us out of that trend line. Who do you think needs to come in and defend? Buyers, right? And look what they're doing here. So we know we have a pretty actionable signal here. We got 2 more minutes and we're already outside of our trend line. So we're just waiting for that 5-minute close. And then ideally we'd want to see a move into this 39.80 range, you know, to be entering and look to take to the 77, 75-ish, potentially even lower if it really kicks back. 2 minutes left on this close. So in this dump, retracement so far isn't too crazy, but you already know the last couple of minutes of the candle is really what counts on that 5-minute. So let's see if buyers really try and defend here or not. And by defend, right, they would be retracing this move back up. We're looking at our TTM on 1 minute, starting to fire to the red a little bit. It's still in a squeeze though. RSI, if we were going to go to the downside, the 1 minute definitely has space before oversold, right? That means that, okay, it could be healthy to go downside. Right, TTM showing selling pressure as well. And all we need is our closeout side. We're looking like we're trying to get a retest of the trend line, but it hasn't actually come to fruition yet. All right, that's our 5-minute close. Just to show you guys real quick. Be nice. Okay, cool. Right, so 5-minute close outside of the trend line. Here we are in our 1 minute now. And like I said, so far it's looking pretty healthy, but I would like to see us move into this trend line here to confirm entry. And contracts for puts, I just looked up and realized I didn't have any ready to go. Let's go 0.15. Ooh, that's the man. Gotta have the contracts ready. Perfect scalp. Oh my gosh. Ah. All right, but I mean, hopefully everything has tied itself full circle by now. Right, but beautiful entry, right? 5-minute close outside, seeing the rejection here, not seeing much retracement, right? How do I know it's not much retracement? I mean, if you would have just looked at your you could even throw a Fibonacci if you needed to, but you realize, okay, we barely retraced 20, maybe 30%. Right, that's a healthy sign that things could continue because buyers weren't able to retrace 50, 60, 70%. Right, so seeing that, very little retracement, that's what I was saying, boom, that's our cue for entry. And yeah, we would have loved to see this without having my options contracts up, because that would have been a perfect scalp. Boom, boom, and you're out. Right, but this is what I mean. Like, if you can get a strong edge like this, I'm not even mad I missed this one, because that's what I'm going to do. Find the next one. You feel me? So it's like, it's not even a big deal. And as you can see, we've been pretty healthy doing that all day, right? If we missed one, we can go to the net, we can find another signal later. But this was definitely a healthy signal. We've had another had about a 5-point flush on that. If you had contracts that were anywhere within 25, 35 points out the money, that's that's easily 20-30% into the money. Looks like our next trend line would be something like this right here, just based on touch, and then where we currently are, right? So if you miss this signal, you'd be looking for a 5-minute close on the next one. And once again, zoom in on your 1 minute, look for very little retracement, look for, room on your RSI, and then look to take things down another leg. But we're now over time. So I'm glad we stuck in. I wish we would have been able to take this trade with you guys. Because this is the scalper way, right? You get a candle like this, look at all these other candles compared to the range candle of entry, and then you get that little continuation afterwards, bro, in and out. And once again, the whole premise behind this is, okay, let's say that contract went up 50, 60 bucks on that move. Okay, cool. I need to master making $100 every time I take an edge, right? Because if I can do that, then all I do is, okay, that made that made 100 or it made 80. Cool. Let me add on contracts, next time I trade it. And now that 80 is, 380 or whatever it might be. But it's the same signal. We're not switching up our strategy. We've been looking for the same signal all day. When we find it, move on it. And if it doesn't come to fruition, we don't move, right? We're patient enough, we wait, and then we let the market come to us and give us the signal. We don't go chasing it. Interestingly enough, that new trend line we made, look at the bounce right on it, and we can see exactly why that makes sense. Because past these two trend lines that we had drawn in, this was the next support trend line. What happens if we lose this one, though? We might have one more support trend line at this bottom wick right here, right? But if we lose that, we don't have anything at the moment, right? And this is why it's always important to keep track of your trend lines. Also, while we're at it, just make sure you have your upside trend line like this, right? Because on this downward move we have, if we break to the upside, it's going to look like that. I just tried to rage and give you guys like a bunch more information before I got out of here. But the key is just keeping track of the price action, right? Constantly drawing your trend lines. And then with this strategy we've been using, right, we're just waiting for 5-minute closes, either outside of trend lines or above specific levels, or below specific levels. And ideally you want both, right? So it's like, all right, we got a 5-minute close above this level and outside of this trend line I just drew. That might be our signal for upside when we zoom in, right? We get a 5-minute close outside of this trend line and under this level here. It's probably going to be our clue or cue to enter for some more downside potentially. But it's very simple strategy. I mean, I've been trading like this for probably the last like 3 or 4 months, and it's literally all I do. I take 1 to 2 trades a day, and close my account, because it's like, as you can see, you don't need a lot of time in the markets to find an actionable signal and execute it. So before I get out of here, because I know I just dumped a bunch of stuff on you guys, go ahead, ask questions.
One more question. Hey, so when I noticed when you drew your trend line from that bottom, do you go from the body or do you go from the wick? That's where
touches.
No, like that initial one, like I don't know what time this is, like the one.
Right,
yeah, that one right there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want touches, right? So I do see a wick down here,
Right.
but both bodies closed here.
Okay.
So to me, I like the idea of taking where those bodies close, because touches, right? I get 2 touches immediately.
Oh,
right? And then for me, right? And then I extend out to the right, and I'm just looking for the most touches, right? Initially, we had it like this because look how many more touches we had from here versus if we would have done like this wick right here or something, right? We had 2 touches on that versus here. We have a bunch of bodies, a bunch of wicks that touched it, right? So that's why I would take that trend line over the wicks, right? Now, as we moved on though, right? You notice, okay, right? We see if we take the wicks here, or sorry, take the body here, boom, boom, wick and body, 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 right? More touches are here on this trend line than anywhere else. That's the one I want. And then of course, the final trend line on this move would be something like right here. This is the least touches, correct? But it's the only one we have. Touch, touch, and then, you know, it makes sense of this price action now. And that's what I was saying. If we get a close under this 39.75, 5-minute close under, might be a good move to take to this trend line down here, potentially break it.
Gotcha. I got to work on that. Okay.
Yeah, it only, bro, you only learn it by drawing it. Like
Yeah,
you just have to be in the markets. And like I said, the key is, let me try every time there's a swing in price action. Let me try and take a structure out of that. Right. And then you're always being able to tell yourself the story of the markets if you're able to, when, you know, those 3 questions we've been talking this whole time. Where'd we come from? Where are we now? And then, of course, the most important, where could we go? And seeing this move right here, yeah, we get that 5-minute close under. I think I like the idea to take us short to 39.67 potentially, which should line up with this trend line too. Yeah, somewhere in that. Yep. 5-minute close under. It's somewhere in these zones here.
Okay, that makes sense. I just got to work on drawing my trend line. So
yeah, you do. And that's like everybody does. Like you do until you don't have to anymore. But the key is just keep doing it. And like you see how my chart gets sometimes. Like I have no problem being a kid on a coloring book when I'm in the markets. Because as long as it makes sense to me, that is all that matters. All right, awesome. Well, I don't want to keep us too much. We're already over time. But if you guys have any questions, you guys already know, just reach out to me in the Discord. And don't forget, we have a new channel, Ask an Admin. So any questions you guys may have, it's in the study hall category. So if you scroll down where like the YouTube videos and stuff are, you'll see Ask an Admin. Feel free to chime in with any questions you have, whether it's market related, trading related. Myself and the admin team will do our best to get timely answers to you guys in there.
This was really, really good. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it too. It's fun. Looks like we might get a 5-minute close outside of this range too. So be prepared.
The recording?
Yeah, it's recorded. This will be uploaded to our YouTube channel, Option Snipers, and then of course in the Discord it'll be there too. It automatically will load. All right, guys. Well, enjoy the rest of your day. Patience when you're trading. Once again, let the market come to you, especially if you're going to use this strategy. Wait for that 5-minute close on your structures. Get in on that 1 minute, right? Try and make sure that things look good for your entry. And then pull the trigger, right? Eventually, once you find your edge, the only way your edge pays you is by pulling the trigger. You got to pay to play in the markets. So once you have something solid, then it's just, you know, rinse and repeat. Again and again and again and again and again. And I want to get us to that point. Whatever it takes to get us to that point, I'm down for. I know you guys are too. So let's just keep leveling up.
Cool. Thank you so much.
No problem. I'll see you guys on the Discord.